As I often do when there's something I want to take a picture of, I did something undignified and without regard to whether there were other people around. It's called an American Flycatcher. No, it's not. It's called an American Redstart, but somehow it is not a redstart, not a white start, and not a flycatcher. The American Redstart is a rather small wood warbler. Yes, it's a warbler, and it's known for its striking black and orange plumage. At least the adult males, they always get to be the prettiest. And the muted yellow and gray look for the adult females and the younger males. Once the hatchlings develop any feathers, it's this soft brown down on the crown of their head and on their body. As I already said, the younger males look like females for their first and second years before their first breeding season. So if you see something that you think is a female, could be or could not be. But if you see a bird that has black patches on it or looks halfway between a male and a female, that is a young male molting into its adult plumage. So many different kinds of birds have that in-between stage where they look like two birds mushed together because of their molting. And I always love it because of how stupid it looks, especially in ducks. I really love ducks. Overall, adult males are glossy black with bright salmon orange patches on the base of their outer tail feathers and wing feathers, plus on the sides of the breast. The underparts, the belly, vent, and undertail are all white, so you'll basically only see that when they're flying. And females have a light gray head, gray-green back, same whitish underparts with pale yellow patches on the tail, wings, and sides, as opposed to the males, bright orange, which is what they're known for. Gardeners, why? I hope you can't hear that, because I surely can. It is a pretty acrobatic fly-catching bird, and it has these distinctive tail and wing flash patterns that are similar to that of the Myoborus, which are similar to that of the Myoborus warbler, which are also known as white starts by the International Ornithological Congress, but are known as red starts by the American Ornithological Society's North and South American Classification Committees. But Myoborus species are not closely related to the various species called redstarts in the Muscicapitae family, or to the American redstart, our bird, which are in the family Parulidae. And none of the white starts, redstarts, or American redstarts are in the family Tyrannidae, which are the tyrant flycatchers, even though the way you describe all of these things are as fly-catching birds. Ornithologists have really just spent centuries naming things without consulting one another, I swear. Because I'm lost. But anyway, these bright flash patterns of the tail and wings are used to stun its prey and communicate with other individuals. Basically, stuns bugs, appeals to birds. They've also evolved a flattened bill and larger wings than other paralids, the New World warblers, that really help with its aerial insect hunting, like a flycatcher. But please don't get me started on that again. It is vocally prominent during its breeding season, which is the only time I've encountered it here in upstate New York, with varied high-pitched songs. Now, of all the different aspects of ornithology that I've looked into, I find bird songs and their uses to be the most difficult to parse. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe I'm just a visual girl. So here's what I've got on the topic. Listen for this. They've got different songs to attract mates and to defend their territory. That just seems like good practice. So if you're anywhere near me or in their breeding territory, this is what you're listening for. They still do some singing during nesting and sporadically before fall migration. A lot of the reasons why they talk so much is unknown, like the purpose of the muted songs they do, or why females sing at all. They've got a bunch of different vocalizations for many different reasons, including chip calls, tisp calls, TT calls, alarm calls, and flight calls. Man, onomatopoeia at its finest, and I don't sound like a bird. Redstarts inhabit a lot of places, as long as they're open wooded habitats. They are not a very location-specific bird. So secondary forests and urban trees, and it goes for tropical and subtropical habitats in the winter. Migratory bird and all that, you know. For their breeding habitat, again, where I see them, they prefer moist, deciduous, second-growth woodlands with abundant shrubs and preferably near water, which is in fact where I've always found them. But while that's preferred, you do sort of get them where there's trees. So in alder and willow thickets, on the edges of forests, orchards, shrubby patches, you name it. Although their habitat preferences actually vary regionally, even within a given season, as it prefers deciduous forests in the northeast and bottomland hardwoods and swamps in the southeast. When they're migrating, older birds really do tend to dominate the better foraging habitats, which is not really surprising, and younger birds get pushed off to the less preferred ones. In the winter, they like the low to mid elevations in native forests and woodlands in South America. They particularly like the Caribbean islands, don't we all? Using mangroves and shade coffee plantations, which just sounds lovely. Honestly, I'd love to see a redstart on a coffee plant and then have coffee. And a redstart. Not to eat. During the winter, they've actually shown some sexual habitat segregation, with the males occupying wetter and more forested areas, and females getting the drier, shrubbier ones. Overall, their migratory ranges don't really overlap, going from the neotropical to the Nearctic. They mostly migrate at night in mixed species flocks, almost as if they're trying to make it so humans can't spot them. They start leaving their breeding grounds in late July through about mid-October, depending on the region, with juveniles typically migrating slightly later and taking slightly longer to do so than adults. They then spend about 7 months in their wintering grounds and then start heading back in late March, everyone getting here by about mid-May. Older males typically get to the north first so that they can welcome the females and kick out the yearlings. Nature. These guys are mainly insectivores, the whole fly-catching but not a flycatcher thing. They eat leafhoppers, plant hoppers, wasps, beetles, caterpillars, all those sorts of things. They'll occasionally consume berries in the late summer. They'll forage anywhere within the forest, from ground to canopy. Basically, they'll go where the bugs go, which is so fun for me trying to find them, although they mostly capture their prey from foliage or the air, not so much the ground. And they'll use that stunning tail and wing display to do so. They'll hop, they'll do short flights, they'll hover, they'll do aerial sallies, whatever they need to do to get the bugs. This also means that it's hard to get a picture of one. They don't stop. I can see that it's there, but it keeps hopping from branch to branch. I'm like, if I'm trying to eat you, that's not helping. It only hurts when I'm trying to take a picture. So yeah, rapid movements, a lot of perch changes. Also known to whack their larger prey against their perches, to stun them, and to get rid of unwanted parts that I don't really want to think about. So once everybody has gotten up here for the breeding season, they typically monogamously pair off, although sometimes older males will have a second territory, and thus a second mate and a second brood. The ratio of males to females is largely skewed towards males by the time you get to the breeding season. Oh, there's a bird there. Because of the higher female mortality rate during nesting and overwintering, so you get a lot of unmated yearling males. They do have a couple of mating displays, including the fluff and the bow, and they do a bunch of these displays until egg laying, and then they stop. I could make several jokes right now, but I have class. On average, there's 4 eggs in a brood, which the female incubates alone for 11 or 12 days. During incubation, the female's mate will occasionally feed her, which is sweet as heck, or evolutionarily efficient, whichever you prefer. The chicks are altricial at hatching, which basically means they're naked and helpless, with just some stupid-looking tufts of feathers on the head, neck, and dorsum. They usually open their eyes on day 3, get feathers by days 6 to 8, and then leave the nest at about day 9. They do have some predators, though nothing particularly interesting or noteworthy, kind of what you get for all small songbirds. Raptors, mammals, snakes, mostly getting at nesting females or eggs. And redstarts will do some mobbing, crouching, freezing, and distraction displays to ward them off. Interestingly, they do often suffer brood parasitism from brown-headed cowbirds. I'm not sure how, as a parent, you can confuse these two things, but they do often accept and fledge cowbird eggs, abandoning the nest only a small percentage of the time. Also, I truly find this quite creepy for some reason. I think it's just the size difference. I mean, that's her fledgling. Ugh. So all this being said, I actually had to go and find the darned bird, which, considering their population in the US and Canada is estimated to be about 42 million, I would have been rather ashamed if I had entirely failed. I went to look for them in a place called Owl Woods in the Braddock Bay Wildlife Management Area. This quickly has become one of my favorite places to go and look for birds, so you will probably see me there again. But let me warn anybody coming here for a visit, bug spray and a tick check post-hike are mandatory. The first time I walked here in the summer, literally no joke, after 10 minutes, I turned and ran out. Birds like bugs, I do not. So after about 15 minutes, I heard one, and as I often do when there's something I want to take a picture of, I did something undignified and without regard to whether there were other people around. Of course, crawling into a bush did not bring about a bird picture because the universe is cruel, so I kept walking. It only took me about 30 minutes to spot another, and this time I got her. This is either a female or a juvenile male, see previous information in this video, and while they are not quite as colorful as the older males, they are still just as flighty. Man, it was hard to get a picture. I do have another photo from a different walk. This one was a fully plumaged male and he happened to land in a bush right in front of me. And while you can see pretty well what he is, the branch in front of him is gonna haunt me for a while. That's one of the most frustrating things about this hobby. Sometimes you find someone, but the picture is just not as satisfying as it should be. So even after finding my girl, I strolled around for a little while longer, and just as I got up on this bench to take a picture of what I'm pretty sure was a northern flicker, I heard a blue-gray gnatcatcher, and I jumped and ran for it. I've been looking for one for a little while, and they've got this really wheezy call, which is easy to pick out, and voila! Sometimes the birds you want will only pop up if you're looking for something else. I'm still gonna keep my eye out for other redstarts. I only really let go of a bird when I get exactly the picture I want. That's why I have so many goddamn pictures of birds. Remember, I am not an expert in this. I am not an ornithologist. I'm barely even a birder. I'm really just a photographer who likes taxonomy. See you next time.